Warning.
Man, check this out.
We're on official
What is happening?
Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown
What's on
Show.
my bed?
Get Rob.
Thanks again.
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
And away we go, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. How the hell are you? What's happening? Y'all doing all right? Everybody doing good? How was your weekend? Was it exceptional? I hope, yes. I hope that your weekend was phenomenal. I hope that your bracket is in shreds, much like mine is. There's a couple of y'all in the Rob Brown Show bracket pool that are still dancing. We'll take a look up and down the leaderboards here in just a little while. Most of you, like me, are just begging for a few more dubs to fall your way so that you can make it respectable before you get trounced like the rest of us. I hope that Carolina Panther fans, I hope you're doing well. Because it's getting Scott in here. Scott Fitterer going straight up man's game on the Carolina Panthers right now. We're going to talk about that coming up in just a little while. Obviously, brackets coming up in a little while. NBA playoffs are right around the corner. We're going to talk about the teams that are getting hot at just the right time in a few minutes. From right now, we've got NFL free agency talk up and down, left and right. We're going to get into that. It is going to be a busy day on the radio broadcast today. A lot of stuff to get into. The first thing that you will notice today, ladies and gentlemen, is that last week you had a couple of days of Carlos with a K, and the great one today, Zoe, is out. He is off enjoying his annual haircut vacation. My man's the only guy I know that gets a haircut and takes a 1 week vacation around it. He's like, I got a haircut Wednesday, so I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He is also going to, at some point, I've tried to talk him into this. Lonzo's shoe game is like adequate at best. Adequate at best. So at some point this week, the great one is going to go shoe shopping, and he is going to join the live stream during the show on the air from a shoe store, and we collectively on the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate or the Rob Brown Show on YouTube or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. We are going to help Lonzo up the sneak game just a little bit. We're going to help him up the kicks game just a little bit because, to be frank, and I love him, and I've told him this to his face, so it's nothing I'm saying behind his back, he needs it. He needs it. So instead of the great one all this week, we get my guy T2, the Timinator, in the building. What's up, fella?
What's up, people?
How you doing, buddy?
I am here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good way to describe it.
Yeah, I'm having the Mondays, but it's good. I feel good.
The good news is the Mondays only last one day.
Yeah, I know.
Unless you catch them really bad, then they last 2 or 3.
Yeah,
but, Of the places that you could work when you've got a case of the Mondays, worse spots than the Rob Brown Show.
No worse spots. I like being here.
There are no. I'm saying if you have the Mondays, there are worse places you could be working today.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We don't do the Mondays on this show. We just straight up have a good time all the time, and glad to do it. We'll say real quick, and I appreciate everybody that has offered a kind word. For those of you that did not follow me on the social media, for those of you that don't follow me around in my day-to-day life, first off, why not? I'm entertaining as hell. Second off, the trip up to New York was exceptional. We had an incredible time. Did the lady friend and I up in New York City. And I may have thrown out some diversionary tactics, as the actual point of that trip this weekend was that your boy and the lady friend are now your boy and the fiance. We did get engaged up in the city this weekend. Thank you very much, TG, for the one-man standing ovation. Much appreciated. We did get engaged up there this weekend. That was the actual point of the trip, but it turned out that all of you snitches, every time I say anything about her on the radio show, somebody goes and snitches back to her about what I said, which is why last Wednesday I was in a great amount of trouble for telling the entire upstate of South Carolina that she snores. All right. She was not super thrilled about that. And the only way that I could dig myself out of the hole that I put myself in by telling the entire upstate of South Carolina that she snores like a drunken lumberjack was to hand her a big fat ring while we were up there on, over the weekend, which I did. So anyway, major life goal accomplished.
You got to learn to grovel a little bit, man.
Oh, listen, I'm a groveling expert. I'm
there you
a
go.
groveling master. But I also gave her a massive warning when she started dating me, which is, heads up, on the air, I'm an open book. All right. On the air, I will talk about just about anything and everything happening in my life at this point. Like, there's very little that doesn't make it on air, even the gross stuff, like even the stuff you don't want on air. If it's entertaining, engaging, and compelling, it will make it on the air. So did get engaged this weekend, had a lovely trip. We got to see the Phantom of the Opera on Saturday. It's only on Broadway for like 3 more weeks. And so we got to see one of the last, I think one of the last 4 weekend performances of Phantom of the Opera, which was spectacular.
I always wanted to take my wife to that.
Oh, dude. I was going to say, if you get the chance, do it, but you won't get the chance because it's sold out through the end of the run. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I gave her 2 tickets to see it back for Christmas last year. One of our very first dates, when we started dating was during the COVID lockdowns, right? Wonderful time to start a romantic relationship. Sincerely, I'm not even being sarcastic about that. One of the best times to start a relationship, because you at the time could not do anything other than sit around and get to know each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was no, you effectively picked up food from whatever restaurant would serve it to you in your car, brought it back to the house, turned on a movie, turned on TV, whatever, and watched it and talk. Like, all you had was to get to know each other. That was your only opportunity. So one of the first things we did was, outside of the interrogations, we both said that actually she told me this weekend that the day she became interested in me was because she asked me what my favorite Anthony Hopkins movie was. Which favorite Anthony Hopkins movie? Everybody's got to have one.
Silence of the Lambs.
That's the answer, right?
Yeah.
90% of people go with Silence of the Lambs. I went with Legends of the Fall.
Oh, okay.
Legends of the Fall is an incredible movie.
I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah. My real answer was The Mask of Zorro, but that was, it felt like when I was trying to impress somebody, hitting her with him and Antonio Banderas. And by him and Antonio Banderas, what I mean is Captain Zeta-Jones.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, okay, this, I like this guy. So one of the first things we did was she found out that I'm a fan of the Phantom, and we watched the movie together. So for Christmas, I surprised her with tickets, and to present the tickets, I got a cameo from Ben Crawford, who was the guy currently playing the Phantom, telling her in his full Broadway Phantom makeup, hey, Rob's bringing you to see.
Oh, that's cool.
So that surprise was in the works. That
was brownie points right there.
Yeah,
good brownie points.
So by the time we got there, it was like, shoot.
Rob the romantic over here.
Oh yeah, already won. So we got engaged up there this weekend. And now we're back to real life, man. Now we're back on the grind, the Rob Brown Show, working for more hardware, man. We're coming for more hardware. I want a chance to wear that red sequin jacket. Got a little reinvigorated while we were up there. Got the opportunity to meet Cody Decker in person, my co-host on the Bet for the Cycle radio broadcast, which will be making its triumphant return this baseball season, as we are like 10 days away from opening day in Major League Baseball. We got to talk some Braves ball and some World Baseball Classic, because the Americans are once again, for the second consecutive time, on the way to the World Baseball Classic finals by way of a demolition job on Cuba last night. We're going to talk about that game and what it means for the billion-dollar lineup of Team USA to be back in the finals this year. We'll get into that in just a little while. But, had a lovely time. Got to meet Cody Decker in person for the first time. That was great. Got the opportunity to see some destinations of radio history while we were up there, and got a little reinvigoration to come back here and once again begin kicking all the asses available to be kicked. So stick around. This show's about to get bigger, better, faster as we move on. Let's get to some sports and have some fun. My man Joe from Boiling Springs said, "Congrats, Rob. Been married for 6 years, have 2 kids. By far the best decision I've ever made in life, and I hope it's yours as well." Hey, I'll tell you what. We've been engaged for almost 72 hours now. And no, sorry. About 72 hours now. And neither of us has killed each other or backed out. So I feel like we're smooth sailing. Smooth sailing.
You're on the right path. Huh?
On the right path so far. Yes, indeed. All right. Got a lot of stuff to get into on the radio broadcast today. How can you be a part of the show, you might ask? And I just might have the answers. Here's how you do it. T2 the Timinator will answer the phone if you call 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. By the way, can I tell you, I get asked, why do y'all say the phone number so many times? There's 2 reasons. Number one, because we want you to call. The show is better when you're on it. I feel like I might be the only host who actually says that and believes it. The show is better when you guys are on it. Doesn't mean every call is going to be a banger, but the show is better when you guys give us some stuff to kick back and forth. Second, because it's easy to forget. How do I know that? Because on Friday morning, Rob Brown was asked to be a guest on this show by Carlos with a K, our fill-in, who did, from what I understand, a remarkable job. And thanks to Carlos with a K for filling in and Lonzo for covering the bases for him. Carlos with a K goes, "Hey, Rob, could I get you on Friday morning to call into the show and break down Furman's win against Virginia in the opening round of the NCAA March Madness tournament?" I was like, hell yeah. I will absolutely be a guest on my own show. I have that much ego. Yes. I will take a day off and still be on my own show. So it got to be like 9:57. I had a 10 o'clock hit schedule with Carlos with a K, pardon me. I sat down in the hotel room, the Blakely Hotel in Manhattan. I picked up my phone. I got ready to call into my own show. I opened the phone app, where you dial the little numbers in, and I pushed the 8 and then completely forgot the phone number to the radio station. Not kidding you. Sitting on the edge of the bed, right? I'm sitting on the edge of the bed in the old underoos. Lady friend and I were getting, and now, in fairness, I think I deserve a little bit of leeway here, because that was us getting ready for an 11:30 brunch that I was going to propose at, right? So I was a bundle of damn nerves already.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Bundle of nerves already. And I went to dial in to jump on board, because I told Zoe, I'm like, I'll call you. Don't worry about me. Like, just focus on the show. Make sure the show's good. I'll call in. Got to dialing the number, completely blanked on the phone number. Sitting on the edge of the bed like, damn it, what is the nut? She's like, what are you mad at? I'm like, what's the number to the radio station? She's like, the one you work at? Yeah. The one you say 3 times an hour, 3 hours a day, every day? Yeah. I don't know either. So anyway, Zoe texted me like 4 minutes into the segment. He's like, where are you? I was like, I'm sitting on a bed in New York City in my underoos trying to remember the phone number. He's like, all right, I'll call you. Good call. Anyway, 844 fan phone. That's 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663 is the number. You can also text us on the text line, 71307. That's the number, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Or you can shoot me a tweet at The Rob Brown Show, at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter. And do us a favor, if you haven't yet, follow the Fan Upstate on Twitter, at The Fan Upstate. It is an amalgamation of all the things that I think and say, Mark Ryan thinks and says, Diesel thinks and says, Zoe thinks and says, station management thinks. Everything you need to know about the station is on Twitter at The Fan Upstate. So toss us a follow there as well if you don't mind. All right, when we come back here in just a minute from right now, it has been a busy few days for the Carolina Panthers. At last we spoke, Andy Dalton was signed to a quarterback contract. Since then, we have gotten a new wide receiver. We are working on another. There's a new running back in the fold, and a running back that made me so thumbs up that I was not upset when D'Onta Foreman became a Chicago Bear. We are going to break down all the moves that the Carolina Panthers have made over the past week when we come back. I am Rob Brown, T2, the Timinator, in the driver's seat today. Be a part of the show. We want you on board. 844-326-3663. Write it down so you don't forget it like an idiot. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, what is up, everybody on the stream? How y'all doing? Steven, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that greatly. Steven says, what's up, T2?
What up?
Skrilla popping in. Morning, boys. Happy Monday. Congrats on the engagement. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Trey said, misunderstood what you guys said. I thought I could fill out the brackets first round and go back and fill out the rest after the tournament started. Got locked out from, no, T-Ray. Come on, man. You got to go ham from the beginning, buddy.
You got a Gables on Pelham, but do you want me to do it after the next out?
Yeah, move that to the next one if you don't mind.
Okay.
Joy B said, Lonzo buying some New Balance 608s on the live stream. I'm in. Yeah. So here's the thing, Joey B. We're trying to talk him out of buying the New Balance 608s, right? We are trying to work my way.
He needs some Converses.
We're trying to get see, I think Zoe would rock the hell out of some Chuck Taylor.
Yeah, right? Man.
Zoe's a Chuck guy. He just doesn't know it yet.
Or some Vans. Get him some Vans high tops.
Trey said, I did pick Furman, tied with the future Mrs. Brown after the first round. She beat my ass in the first round. But it was weird because this tournament set up to be all chalk, and then it was not all chalk, man. Skrilla said, battled and now have been at 1 point above Rob at this point. We're not done. The best I can do is if Alabama makes it in, but there were a bunch of y'all that picked Bama to win the finals. Which if they do, I'm going to get smoked, man. Absolutely smoked. All right, let me grab a Gatorade out of the cooler, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in 30 seconds. All right, we're back, dudes and dudettes. Thanks for the patience. Yeah, I'm going to try to talk Zoe into some. I want to talk him into some low talk Nike dunks. I want to talk him into the Panda dunks, the black and white dunk, because he wears a lot of black.
Get him some Nike SBs, Nike skates.
But I also know Zoe's going to see a $100 price tag on a pair of sneaks and be like, nope.
Yeah.
We're working with like a $60 budget for Zoe. We'll see. No, Steven, you will not be. No. And once again, capital N, no. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Great to be with you. Rob Brown, T2, the Timinator, filling in for the great one, Lonzo, who is out on vacation this week. Let's get some stuff in here, shall we? Let's get to some stuff. Very, very excited about the direction that the Panthers are going in right now. When last we spoke, Andy Dalton had become a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and I think that's a great move, all right? I do. And I know a lot of you guys are going, wait a minute, Rob, you're a Saints fan. You literally watch Andy Dalton more than anybody in the upstate. How can you think this is a great move? And it's very, very simple why I think it's a great move. Andy Dalton is the right fit here. And he's the right fit here for one reason. He's the perfect bridge quarterback, right? You're getting him on a good deal, a 2-year deal. You're paying him just north of $10 million for 2 years. It's not breaking the bank. He knows at this point, I think, what his role is in the NFL. Andy Dalton is a dude who is a suitable starter when called upon, but a guy that is more of a placeholder until you find the dude. Andy Dalton knew, even when starting last year in New Orleans, I think, that his time was limited. New Orleans was a stage for Andy Dalton to put in some efforts to try to get a contract like this one, a good financial deal for a couple of years to build up the bank account. He was looking for a team where he'd get a crack at being the starter one more time. Hell, maybe a good enough starter to push off the incumbent, the next guy, for a little while, right? To kind of push him back down the line a little bit and give them some time to learn. Carolina was just that. A guy that was going to get an opportunity with a decent wide receiver cast. We now know that that is the case. We now know that he is going to be without DJ Moore, obviously, who is now a Chicago Bear. But we also know that he is going to have with him Adam Thielen. Thielen, of course, is a big-time wide receiver, one of the most frustrating wide receivers in the game. If you spend any time watching Minnesota ball the last couple of years, you know that Adam Thielen is not a dude who's going to hit the 9 route, streaking directly to the end zone and just outrunning guys. He is a dude that as soon as the ball is snapped, recognizes where there's going to be a hole in the defense, breaks down in that spot, and takes a snap. That's a massive pickup, right? That's a massive pickup. You've also got, alongside Adam Thielen, you've got Shai, another guy, excellent possession receiver. You've got TMJ, Terrence Marshall Jr. That is a dude who can get up and make some stuff happen for you. Now you've also added Philadelphia Eagles running back Miles Sanders. How important was Miles Sanders to the Eagles this year? Over 1,200.5 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, 20 receptions through the air over the course of the season as well. You put Miles in front of Raheem Blackshear and Chuba Hubbard. Like, I love the pickup of Miles Sanders. That's a big one. I love the pickup of Adam Thielen. That's a big one. The offensive line, as mentioned, has already been built. It improved dramatically from the first 5 weeks of the season to the last 10. Kind of fell apart in a couple of games late, but A lot of frustration going on at that point, too. So you've got an offensive line. You've got a running back now in Miles Sanders. You've got a running back by committee, as Raheem Blackshear and Chuba Hubbard both stepped up their game. Adam Thielen is now your number one, alongside a couple of very serviceable backup guys. Adam Thielen, TMJ, Shi Smith. You've got Laviska Shenault backing them up as your fourth wide receiver. You bring in Hayden Hurst at tight end. Look, I like Ian Thomas. Ian Thomas is a dude, but he's not a remarkable pass catching tight end. All right, he's just not. Hayden Hurst, about as top flight as you are going to get out of this free agent class. I love that Carolina addressed some needs. They also did it on the defensive line, bringing in Shy Tuttle from New Orleans as well. So now, what's going to be very interesting is to see what the front 3/4 looks like for this Panther defense. I've mentioned a couple of times that while Ejiro Evero is a 3-4 guy, he's a very hybrid 3-4 guy. He's a guy that understands the value of being able to rotate back and forth from 3-4 to 4-3 and back. Now you've got both Derek Brown and Shy Tuttle at defensive tackle, which means you can plug in a 4-3 on obvious rundowns, right? You give a little help to Shaq. You give a little help to Frankie Louvu stepping up and basically filling in gaps based on blocking schemes. It also allows you to run a lot of that 3-4. It allows you to put Burns on one side, Gross-Matos on the other, and then rotate Brown and Tuttle so both of those guys stay fresher longer, meaning you can save some of the stamina bar of your defensive tackles as you get deeper into games and the run game becomes more valuable. So does the run defense. And I'm saying this not as a Panthers fan. I'm saying this as a Saints fan, right? As a divisional rival. I've said a bunch of times, I have adopted since I moved here the Ric Flair mentality. The only thing that's good for me is that which gets me paid. Whoa! I need the Panthers to do well. If the Panthers make a playoff run, guess who gets called to go pop off at remotes at bars and get money? Me. Whoa! As a Saints fan, I hate what the Panthers are doing. I hate what they're doing. Because while, as of right now, they still have not solved the biggest problem they need to solve, that is the quarterback position. What I can say is you've got a dude who is serviceable in Andy Dalton. Serviceable, not great, not excellent, but serviceable in Andy Dalton. You've got the first overall pick, meaning that you get your pick from the cream of the crop. Yeah. Between Stroud, Young, Richardson, or Levis. You've got some weight if you decide to trade back because you believe Richardson or Levis is that dude. If you want to make the move, you've got some weight to that, right? So there's a lot of teams that still need to solve the quarterback conundrum, but there's only one of them that has the first overall pick in the draft to do it. That's Carolina. You have solved the tight end problem with Hayden Hurst. I'm not going to say that Adam Thielen has the possibility or the potential to do DJ Moore numbers, but what he is a very good wide receiver one, backed up by, I think, a solid set of WR2, 3, and 4 in Marshall Smith and Shenault, right? I think you've got an outstanding offensive line. This team is being put together and put together very well. You got Bradley Bozeman back. That is invaluable experience at the center position. That's big time. Between Icky, Brady, Corbett, and Moton across the other spots in the front four, you've got as solid and youthful of an offensive line as you could ask for. Defensively, the Panthers were already good, but now you've added a very good defensive tackle in Shai Tuttle next to Derek Brown. You've got one of the best 3 defensive end tandems in football. If you can get Shaq Thompson signed to a contract extension, you're in a great spot. And he has already said publicly multiple times that he wants to get that done. He wants to be there. And I think that's all but proven. And now in the backfield, by adding Von Bell, an outstanding starting strong safety, which allows Jeremy Chin to go back to being that classic free safety that he is suited for, maybe better than anybody else. Oh, and by the way, Dante Jackson and J.C. Horn locking down your cornerback spots. This team is excellent, okay? This team, talent-wise, on paper, is excellent. Now we just got to see if Frank Reich can do 2 things. Number 1, can Frank Reich get the right quarterback out of this draft, A? And B, can he coach them all up? If the answer is yes, this team's got fire across the depth chart. So it comes down to quarterback. It comes down to coaching. But the offseason for the Carolina Panthers has been honestly better than I thought it would be, and I thought it would be pretty good. I have had a lot of criticisms of David Tepper. And I think fair and justified were most of them. But he and Scott Fitterer, I think, have had the best offseason in the National Football League. I look at Dallas, a team that was close, right? A team with the highest of expectations going into the offseason. What do they end up with? They end up with Brandon Cooks as their biggest acquisition. That ain't it, dog. That ain't it. They get rid of Ezekiel Elliott, probably a year or two too late, but we'll see if he's able to have a resurgence somewhere else. Just top to bottom, I don't think there's a team that has had a better offseason than the Carolina Panthers. And looking up and down their depth chart today, I'm going to stand by that. Somebody texted a minute ago, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. Texter said Andy Dalton is a joke. Right. I'm not trying to sell you on Andy Dalton as your starting quarterback. I am trying to tell you that Andy Dalton, as a bridge quarterback to the quarterback of the future, whether it is Young or Stroud, Richardson or Levis, I am simply trying to tell you that Andy Dalton is about as good of a placeholder as you could ask for in this scenario. Andy Dalton gives you experience. Andy Dalton gives you knowledge. Andy Dalton gives you consistent, maybe not excellent, but consistent play at that position while you get QBF, the QB of the future, ready. Now, my pick is CJ Stroud. I've been waffling on that quite a bit. I've been bouncing quite back and forth on that quite a bit. I've been wondering about that quite a bit. CJ Stroud's the pick. There's too much risk trading back to Anthony Richardson. I am concerned about Anthony Richardson. I am concerned that Anthony Richardson is going to be a guy that when it comes down to it, there's just too much growth needed. He's got the highest ceiling in the draft. He might ultimately be the next coming of Lamar Jackson. But that's a big if. It's a big risk. CJ Stroud is the most ready today to take that spot, but even he, I think, will benefit from a couple of months of learning the speed of the NFL. Andy Dalton gives you a better playmaker than you could have asked for a bridge quarterback of not even a full season while you get CJ Stroud ready to roll in that position. This entire setup is as good as you could have asked for the Cats. I've had a lot of criticism of David Tepper. I've had some criticism of Scott Fitterer. But I am going to tell you now that both of these cats deserve a round of applause for this Carolina Panther offseason. Y'all know I got exactly zero problem throwing fire at the Cats when they deserve it. They do not deserve it this offseason. This offseason is the best offseason of anybody in the National Football League, and I don't think it is particularly close. Let's take a break. I want your thoughts, Carolina fans. A-plus grade from Rob Brown, who does not hand out A-pluses often. A-plus grade on this offseason so far. I think all that's left now is maybe one more addition at wide receiver, which, by the way, the Panthers are also talking to DJ Chark, DJ Chark. You add him as QB, as wide receiver 2, alongside Adam Thielen. You get a CJ Stroud. You put in the backfield Miles Sanders. Man, I love this. I'm not saying this year is Super Bowl or bust. I am saying 2025 looks damn good for you right now. Let's take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got to read. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, want to tell All right, dudes and dudettes. Time to wake up, Tim.
Sorry. Don't you just hate that sound? All right, 30 seconds.
My feed says this video has no sound. Can you guys hear me now? Just drop a yes. You should be able to hear us. We're in utility, right?
Yep.
Okay. You guys should be able to hear us.
Everything but the station.
All right, perfect. We're good. Welcome back. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Let's make one thing abundantly clear, since we're talking Panthers for just a minute here. You have to get this quarterback pick correct. It is not an option at this point. You have to get it correct. If you don't get this right, then all of the very good work, let's be abundantly clear. Like I said, I don't hand out A+ very often. But if you don't get this quarterback pick correct, all of the good work that you have put in this offseason, which, by the way, is a lot of it, could very well be for nothing. If you don't have a QB1 in the NFL, you're not going to get there, right? Think about the teams in the playoffs this year. Think about the teams that went to the playoffs last year. Think about the teams that made their way through the playoffs. The Chiefs with Mahomes, the Bills with Allen, the Bengals with Burrow, the Jags with Lawrence, the Chargers with Herbert, the Ravens with Lamar. The only team that I could circle and say they did not do it with a great quarterback is the Miami Dolphins. And even then, Tua Tagovailoa had a phenomenal start to the season before his multiple concussions. Then I look over in the NFC. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Jalen had a renaissance this year, right? Jalen went next level in the way that he played. The 49ers. Brock Purdy went from Mr. Irrelevant to a guy that is now making us question whether Trey Lance is the dude in San Francisco or if Brock Purdy should get another crack. The Vikings did it, but we knew the Vikings were inevitably going to have a playoff collapse, and they did. Why? Because they can't rely on primetime Kirk Cousins. Great quarterback for whatever reason when the light's not bright, but when the Vikings hit the precipice, he falls apart. I mean, look at the teams that have been getting in. Look at the teams that have been making playoff runs. The Buccaneers did it without Tom Brady, or excuse me, with Tom Brady, but they stunk when Brady was having one of his worst years. The Cowboys got in as a wild card team. Dak's not an awful quarterback. The Giants did it with Danny Dimes, and Seattle did it with Geno Smith, who won Comeback Player of the Year award and deserved it, by the way. You cannot make it to the NFL playoffs, and you certainly cannot make it through the NFL playoffs without having a quarterback that is at least reliable. If Carolina botches this quarterback pick at number 1 overall, and they bring in a guy who just doesn't got it, then all of these additions aren't going to do you a heck of a lot of good, right? You will end up being the Minnesota Vikings, a team that talent-wise has everything in place, but a team that when it comes down to, because of the way the NFL is structured, needing a quarterback who can shine in the playoffs to get there, you collapse inevitably. You can't take that risk. You've got to get this right. You've got to get this right. The problem here is that of the top two guys, Stroud and Young, there's a lot of cons for both of them, right? With CJ Stroud, the question mark is how much of that was CJ Stroud being a next level college football quarterback? And how much of that was CJ Stroud being surrounded by top tier talent that other college quarterbacks wish that they had? With Bryce Young was not surrounded by as much talent at Alabama. That's why he also wasn't in the playoffs this year. So I got a little bit more trust that the things we saw Bryce Young doing were because Bryce Young can consistently do those things. The question mark that I have about Bryce Young is, can he take the Drew Brees route and despite being 5'9" 3/4, still get it done at that level? I hope the answer is yes for Bryce Young's sake. But you're taking a gamble. You're taking a risk, regardless of which one of the two you decide to go with. That's not to say that they won't both pay off, but it's also not to say that that neither one of them will pay off. As I've mentioned a number of times, and will continue to, Anthony Richardson, I think, has the highest physical ceiling in the National Football League. Anthony Richardson, I think, could be the most talented of these position group players. I also know that he is the furthest from his ceiling, right? I don't know what CJ Stroud's ceiling is. Is it Russell Wilson? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it somewhere in the middle? But I also don't know that CJ Stroud won't get to the next level, not have the separation of talent that he had at Ohio State University, a team that took your eventual national champion Georgia Bulldogs down to the very last play, right? Ended up in the worst missed field goal in the history of the college football playoffs. I don't know if he'll be able to do that when he doesn't have the separation of talent level that he did in Ohio. I don't know that Bryce Young, who did not have that separation of talent but reached a very similar gap, very similar level of accomplishments, I don't know that Bryce Young is going to have a Bama quality OL out front of him that kind of negates him being an undersized quarterback. We've heard all about undersized quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett's tiny hands, Joe Burrow's tiny hands. And those guys done okay. Joey B specifically. So being undersized is not the end of the world. It is not the only thing that does or doesn't matter. But he also had a top-tier OL in front of him. As did Stetson Bennett, by the way. If you don't get this QB pick correct, it's probably going to be another year or two before you can make another move. Now, you sign him to a Trey Lance-esque contract. You've got a guy in Andy Dalton that can spend a year or two under center, earning you that extra time. That's all well and good. That's all fine. But if you don't get it right, it might be 3 years before you can get another one. Guess who's off contract in 3 years? Most of these studs, most of these playmakers. Now, you can get all, if not most of them back by making a deep playoff run over the next couple of years. But if you don't, and those guys decide to bail, what is right now, I think, the best offseason in the National Football League will have been for naught. And that would be wildly frustrating. That's 1 hour in the books. When we come back, we got World Baseball Classic to talk about. We've got bracket breakdown of all of the teams ongoing and got a little listener competition that we're going to start up on April 1st. I'm going to give you the details because it's a pretty, shall we say, unique prize for the winners over the course of the month of April. I'll tell you how that's going to work when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Boy, that was perfect timing.
It's almost like I'm good at this. I'm not, but it's almost like I am. Yeah, I had that thought, Hudson, that Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, not Ryan, might have been the right move there. But I don't think you were getting him for the same contract you got Andy Dalton for out of New Orleans. That's a good pickup, though.
Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based on incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund is only available.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
It is. The whole time, actually.
Thinking out loud. Sorry, streams.
You're good.
Did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has
T2, are you playing in a band right now?
Yes,
Are you?
I am. Who said that?
Trey said, G2 and a band have any shows lined up?
Not yet. We will. We're still in the writing process. So, but we will have something real soon. So I will keep you up to date on that.
Please do. Please do.
We will, man.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back. I am Rob T2, the Timinator. Tim Snow filling in for the great one.
Howdy, howdy.
Zoe is out on vacation this week.
Vacating it up, man.
Yeah, man. Lonzo has a haircut Wednesday, schedules a whole week of vacation around it. 2 days to mentally prepare, 2 days to like get used to it, and the flow will be back on Monday. We got I don't know, man. I would say the only guy in the building that competes with Zoe for the title of best hair under this roof, T2.
What's up, man?
How you doing, buddy?
I do a lot of work on my hair.
I know, I can tell. I can tell. It's a lot, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's stage hair.
stage hair. That's a great way to put it. Hey, I got a thing. I used to do this years ago on my old station. And I've decided that I'm going to run it back now. I used to do, back on my old show, what I called the starting 11.
Okay.
It's a soccer term. Can be applied to football as well. But the starting 11 in soccer, right? Especially in soccer where you can't substitute every play. Like the 11 guys that start are probably going to be out there for upwards of an hour before you get 3 substitutions. So to be named to the starting 11 in soccer is a big deal. We are going to be starting in April doing the Rob Brown Show starting 11. The starting 11 are the 11 listeners in the month of April, and we'll do it month by month. But the 11 listeners that engage in the show the most often with the best input to the show. So, starting 11, we are talking people who drop good calls on us. We're talking about people who are constantly working the text line. We are talking about people who are constantly engaged on Twitter. We are talking about people that are spreading the good word about the Rob Brown Show around town in ways that I find out about.
Don't forget about YouTube here.
People that are commenting on the YouTube stream, et cetera, et cetera. However you want to be engaged with the show earns you a chance to get into the starting 11. We will have power rankings throughout the course of the show. So, every time you make a call, every time you send a text, every time you send a tweet, every time that you get seen rocking Rob Brown Show gear out and about, if me or T2 or Zoe or anybody else sees you, we will make note of that. At the end of every month, I will have an exclusive prize for the 11 starters, for the top 11, for the starting 11 of the Rob Brown Show. There will be exclusive prizes that every month there will be 11 of these things made. I have already spoken with Keegan, the creative director of the Rob Brown Show. He is helping me make this happen. We are going to have Rob Brown Show /Fan Upstate Yetis one month. We'll do hats. We'll do T-shirts. We'll do all kinds of stuff. They will be different every month. And the starting 11 will get that gear. No one else will. So in month number 1, we're probably coming out of the gate with Rob Brown Show T-shirts, right? That will have a starting 11 logo on them somewhere. If you win one of these, there will only be 11 people who have them in the entire upstate. You will be able to rock that. People will go, that's dope. What is that? And you'll get to say, don't worry, it ain't for you and it ain't for sale, right? Now, how do you get involved in this? It's very simple. As we mentioned, engage with the show. We're going to be tracking phone calls. We're going to be tracking text to the show. It's 71307. Start your text with the word fan. We'll read them on the air. We will be tracking great tweets. We'll be tracking emails. If we go out and about, if we happen to be out at a drive game and I see you rocking Fan Upstate gear and I come say hi and you tell me it's because of the show, we'll be tracking that. We will have all kinds of stuff, all kinds of ways for you to participate in the show. And at the end of the month, the 11 listeners that I feel have done the most to continue to make the show grow and be better, they will get an exclusive prize, one of 11, that only they will have. So, starting on April 1st, which we're now, 11 days from, 12 days from, less than 2 weeks away, we will do that. Plus, every day on the show, if you are one of the starting 11, we will release the power rankings at the end of every week. So at the end of every week, you will find out not only if you were on the starting 11, but where you are on the starting 11. If you are in the starting 11, but you are 11th, you're in threat of getting replaced up until the very last day of the month. The last day of every month, we will give you the final starting 11, and those 11 people will win prizes. All right? So we're going to start that on April 1st. We'll do the first one through the month of April. That is going to be, it's actually April 3rd, is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today. So make your decision now about what you want your thing to be. Maybe you want to run some great text at the show. Maybe you want to jump in on the phones once or twice or 3 times a week and become a character on the air. Maybe you want to send a great, well-written email. There's always the guy who wants to go limerick on the show. There's always one limerick guy who sends in a great limerick here and there. Whatever you want to do to engage in the show, promote the show, and be a part of the show earns you an opportunity to move into the Rob Brown Show starting 11. At the end of the month, the starting 11 get one of 11 prizes that only the starting 11 will get that month. We may do a group get-together at some point. We will do maybe tickets to certain events. We're going to do Yetis. We're going to do T-shirts. We're going to do hats. We're going to do all kinds of stuff.
Fidget spinners.
The Rob Brown Show fidget spinner. I'm not against it. You find me how to get one printed, and I will do a month of Rob Brown Show fidget spinners.
I only say that because I saw one on TV.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I didn't know they were still a thing. Apparently, they still are.
Apparently, yeah.
Anyway, let's see. At RC Sports Cards tweets into the show and said, I want 2 Yetis, 1 for coffee, 1 for beer. Chomp, chomp. I love it. I love it. I can promise, we'll do Yetis early, and then probably, a handful of months later, we'll circle back around and do them again.
Yo-yos.
They'll just be different this time, right? There'll be a different mock-up, different colors, different looks, different logos. They'll be different every time. But if you want in on that, start thinking now about how your input to the show is going to go. Brandon just texted to the show. He said, starting 11 should include the bracket challenge this month, says your current bracket challenge contestant number 3. I will go ahead and tell you this. If you win the bracket challenge, all right, you may very well get an odds-on start as one of the starting 11. If you are active in the stream every day, like Hudson, like Tracy, like Steven, like Skrilla, like Luke, like Trey, all these guys have a leg up on the first month of the starting 11. But you've got to be engaged. You've got to be active. You got to be tweeting. You got to be calling. You got to be commenting. You got to be liking. You got to be sharing. You got to be subscribing. You got to do all these things. And if you do all these things and you make it to the starting 11 at the end of April, you will get an inaugural prize. I think week 1 out of the gate, we're going T-shirts. All right? We're going T-shirts week 1 out of the gate. There will be 11 of them made.
Yeah, T-shirts. T-shirts probably.
I lied. There will be 13 of them made.
Okay.
I will have one. Zoe will have one. There'll be 14 of them made. I will have one. Zoe will have one. T2 will have one.
Yes.
And then 11 members of the Rob Brown Show Armada will have one.
Yes.
That'll be the list. so you can wear it out, knowing you are never going to show up to an event with more than like maybe one other person. And if you do see somebody else rocking that shirt, you know you are cohorts.
Yeah, man. You're part of the club.
You are in an exclusive club,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, a very exclusive club. So stay tuned for that. The starting 11 makes its stream debut, makes its show debut on April 3rd, pardon me, 2 weeks from today. All right. Texter said, if you need measurements for the Yeti, I'll be glad to drop my trousers and grab a ruler. Boom! Signed, Najee Davenport's clothes hanger. Outstanding job. Outstanding job. Texter said, you should start a Mountain Dew Monday segment, just 10 minutes devoted to gaming topics every Monday. Zoe and I, as a matter of fact, are currently working on and inspired to create a couple of different pods. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if we do a gaming pod, you are going to want it to be with Zoe and T2, not me, because I suck. All right? I suck. I suck so bad that T2 has not invited me to play Call of Duty on a stream yet. That's how bad I am. All right?
I have invited you. I just haven't invited you on Xbox yet.
Right. You know, where I play. So, let's see.
I just got a PlayStation 5, so I've been playing that a lot.
Texture says, Mike here, Easily Writer is my new handle, and I can't wait to be a voice impression artist for the show. Again, I hope you do. Now, keep in mind, this is not just you call into the show and go, hey, it's Bob. I'm here for my points. No. The points are not given. They are earned, right? You got to bring something to the show. You got to add something to the show. You got to make something better. If you bring impressions, they better be good.
Yeah.
If you bring limericks, it better be good.
You got to be super poetic, man.
If you bring smack talk to the show, it better be good.
Yeah, man. Make them cry.
If you bring week by week analysis to the show, it better be good. It's not just a matter of call in, hey, Rob, I'm here. I want my points for the starting 11. Oh, no, friends. Oh, no. If you call in, you've got to earn those points.
Got to bring the A game, man.
That's right. You will get graded by myself on a day-to-day basis, by Lonzo on a day-to-day basis, by T2 when he is in on a day-to-day basis.
Or for tiebreakers. I'll take tiebreakers.
Yeah, or tiebreakers.
Just text me.
And you will be judged by one anonymous judge, a daily listener of the show who is going to be a participant. You will be judged by me, by Zoe, by T2, and by an anonymous judge. And at the end of every month, the starting 11 gets announced. And at the end of every month, the starting 11 that is announced will win one of 11 prizes from that month. So you got 2 weeks from today to start getting your life together, to figure out what your gimmick is going to be, to figure out what your shtick is going to be, to figure out what your hook is going to be, to figure out what your catch is going to be. Get thinking on it now. Because if you want in on the starting 11, it is earned, not given. Looking forward to that. Used to do that back in the day. Used to be a big part of the show. I'm going to try to run it back for you guys. See if we can get it done. All right. Coming up in this hour of the show, actually coming up next on the show, World Baseball Classic underway yesterday. The Americans were embroiled in a battle with Cuba with a trip to the World Baseball Classic finals on the line. Were they able to pull it off? Yes, you know that already because you have a TV. But how? But why? Cuba came out of the gate hot. But then the Americans did what I've wanted them to do the entire tournament. And I will tell you what it looked like coming up next on the show. Then NASCAR. We have not gotten a lot of horsepower on the show so far this season, mainly because there's so much going on. But it was a very interesting weekend in NASCAR with a couple of major events, a couple of off-the-track fights, and more. We're going to run through all that we have missed so far in the world of NASCAR and more. Stick around. Go nowhere. The show's going to keep getting better. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
Oops. Oh well, be all right. Hey, back.
I'm going to go ahead and say, Trey, that if you tell your boss that you're having intestinal distress in order to sneak away from your job to interact with the show, there may be some bonus points in that. Hudson, the anonymous judge, is not my mom, but she does listen every day. Maybe I should make her a judge. I will tell you, she's going to judge on wildly different criteria than myself and Lonzo. All right? She just is. Hudson said, can we make Ray D&D shirts as well? Not only can we, Hudson, that is already in the works. And the design has already been made for that. If you wear purple and I call you Tinky Winky, does that interaction count? No. I mean, let me rephrase that. No judge has been instructed on which criteria to use and not use. All right. No judge has been instructed on how to assign their listening points. So you gotta impress everybody. All right. And I'm just saying, perhaps calling the host a Teletubby is not going to be the greatest way to make that happen. At least for one judge. The other one might give you bonus points for it. Weenus. Listen, there's no shortage of designs that have already been kicked up by me and my creative director, Keegan. All right. Where the boat hits the fan is one. Kobe.
I totally walked out on intestinal distress. What happened?
I got to make a real quick phone call, guys. Do not go anywhere. Be right back. Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Just got off the phone a second ago. Wanted to not really gauge your interest because I'm doing it either way, but gauge your interest. Just got off the phone, and one day this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, I am going to sit down with the front office and a couple of players from the Greenville Triumph. We're going to do something special, something I've wanted to do for a couple of seasons, just haven't really gotten the opportunity to do it yet. And I'm pretty excited about this. Either Wednesday or Thursday after the show is over, I'm going to bring the gear over to the Triumph administration office and sit down with John Harkes, the manager, the head coach of the Greenville Triumph, a player or two from the team, and with friends of the show, Chris Lewis and Doug Irwin, the president and CBO/COO/ the dudes that make the Greenville Triumph go. And here's why. I've told you guys many times in the past that, to me, the best way to get fans of a thing, and it doesn't matter what the thing is, but the best way to get fans of a thing is to give you exposure outside of just the game. Just this is on TV, right? And I've told you the story about how I became a soccer fan, how I became a NASCAR fan, and that was sitting down with someone who knew the game, someone who loved the game, and had someone who explained the game to me in a way that I could understand it more than just a surface level view, right? So I'm going to be sitting down later on this week with Doug and Chris, with John Harkes, the manager, and with a couple of players from the team, with the aim of talking a little bit about the off season for the Greenville Triumph, talking a little bit about the lead up to the season for the Greenville Triumph, and talking a little bit about the start of the season. And then about every 2 weeks through the duration of the season, I will be having a similar sit-down talk with Harksey, a similar sit-down talk with Doug and Chris, and a similar sit-down talk with a rotating cast of crew, of characters and crew from the team itself, just to give a bird's eye view of what a season looks like for a local professional team. I intend to do this with the Triumph. I am hoping to get to do this with the Greenville Drive this season. And down the line, hoping to get to do this next year with the Furman football team as well. So this is a goal. This is something I have wanted to do for a very long time, and it just lined up. It just lined up that this is our chance. The Greenville Drive open with their first home match coming up on Saturday. It is the 25th. It is going to be at Furman University. It is game number 1. And by the time we get to kickoff on the 25th, I will have that first pod dropped for you where you guys can listen to it. You guys can hear from the manager, from the president, from the CEO, from a couple of players what the offseason looks like, how training works, right? Obviously, there has been a big shuffle for this team, going from playing their games last year at Legacy Early College to this year on the campus, on the football field at Furman University. I will be bringing in the president and members of different supporters clubs throughout the year, et cetera, et cetera. It's a catalog that I have wanted to do for a very long time and just not had the ideal circumstances to launch it. And I think now's the time. So I just got off the phone during the break with Doug. Doug said the Triumph are all in. They want to do this. They want this to happen. And again, how many times have I told you guys? And this is said with love to every organization that we interact with and cover. But I don't think in the 15-ish years that I've been in this industry, I don't think I have ever been around a team that works quite as hard, quite as diligently as the Greenville Triumph do at connecting to new fans, at opening the door for fans to not only get involved, but to be aware of what's going on and when and why and how and all that goes into it so that you guys genuinely get a behind closed doors look at different teams, at different organizations, at how these things run outside of showing up to the stadium on Saturday, enjoying a game for 3 hours, and then going home to hear the results on the show the next day. I don't know about y'all. I love learning how things work behind the scenes. Like, it's great. I got a couple of weeks ago to take a tour after I got picked up as one of the 2 on the field MCs for the Greenville Drive. When I spoke with them, they invited me out for a tour of Fluor Field, a behind the scenes tour. So I got to check out the locker room and the hallways in the back, which, by the way, are brand new this season and beautiful. But I got to do something that I had never done before. After 3 years of being here, they let me go inside the Green Monster. They let me go inside of perhaps the most iconic sports thing in the upstate, the Green Monster at Fluor Field, and see how that works, right? Where the scorekeepers operate back there, how they operate, how they keep track of the game, how they keep track of the score, how they hang the numbers that tell the stadium what inning we're in, what the score is, how many hits, how many runs, et cetera, et cetera. I got to go behind the wall of the Green Monster and get an inside out look at the Monster. And it was incredible, man. I've never got to do anything like that before. And I got a couple of pictures of it, which I'll be happy to post at some point on the show. Had a ball, man. It was phenomenal. It was something I've never gotten to do before. I think it's something that most of us collectively, as the Rob Brown Show Armada, most of us don't get that opportunity very often. Most of us don't get the opportunity very often to do something like that. And I love to be able to take you guys behind those scenes when I get to do stuff like that. And this pod that I'm going to drop probably by the end of this upcoming weekend, I think is a big step in that direction. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know when it's going to drop. Just got off the phone with Doug. We are going to record that either Wednesday or Thursday, working around both our schedule and Harks and the Triumphs training schedule as they get set for home match number 1 this Saturday, March 25th at Furman Stadium. All right. Let's get some other stuff in here real quick. How about this Team USA World Baseball Classic team? Yesterday, I sat in an airport in Newark, New Jersey. And by the way, to any New Jerseyans in the crowd, before I say what I'm about to say, please accept my most heartfelt apologies. Before I say what I'm about to say, please know that this is not meant to be a slight at you, though you're going to take it that way. Is there a more depressing place in America than New Jersey? I was in New Jersey for a grand total of 2 hours. Well, I was in New Jersey outside of the airport for a grand total of about 2 hours. And I've never been more depressed. All right.
Why do you say that?
We flew into Newark, New Jersey on Thursday.
Right? Uh-huh.
It was cheaper for us to fly into Newark and then take an Uber from Newark to Manhattan than it was to fly into LaGuardia and then take an Uber from LaGuardia to the hotel, right?
Uh-huh.
So we flew into Newark, New Jersey, got off the plane. First off, there's this arms race amongst airports to be the nicest airport, right? There are legit airport, I just learned this, legit airport awards that get handed out every year. And we're very fortunate because GSP wins a bunch of them every year. Like, we're very lucky. We got a nice airport here for those of us that fly in and out. Really nice airport.
We do.
I got off the plane in Jersey, and we're walking through the Jersey airport, and it was just like, we're just happy to exist, right? We're just happy to be here. We got into the Uber, and we're driving from Newark, New Jersey to Manhattan. And I've never seen anything like New Jersey. We're driving through Newark. We're driving towards the Lincoln Tunnel to go into New York City. And it's like all the buildings, Tim, are just smack dab on top. Like in New York City, all the buildings are on top of each other, but they're laid out in a grid pattern, and it's avenues one way, streets the other.
So you just don't like the pattern?
No, it's not the pattern. It's that it's like it's like New Jersey took all of the apartments and buildings and they just like hugged them, dragged them into each other, and then just left them, right? Like everybody lives a foot from everybody else. It's just not great. All right. And then
You just don't like being right up on top of people.
I didn't even mind that because the lady friend asked me, like, we were on Friday. On Friday in New York City, we went out. It was St. Patrick's Day, right? So we started the day. I proposed early in the morning, and then we spent all day just wandering the city. Met Cody Decker, who now works for MLB Network as well as Odyssey.
Oh, that's
And,
cool.
Yeah, super dope. So we walked all New York City, and there were a couple of times where there were so many people on the streets, and people in New York, like, they just keep walking. If you're on their way, they just keep walking. Like, you're going to shoulder check a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
To the point that at one point I told her, I'm like, you know what? I'm not moving anymore. Like I was like ducking and diving and dodging to get out. At one point I'm like, I'm not moving anymore. I was like, people just keep bumping into me. So I'm going to bump back. Like I'm going to end up, and I go 6'3", 255.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to bump back. She's like, cause I told her, I was like, look, if down the line, I'm very happy where I am, but if down the line I ever got the call of, hey, Rob Brown at CBS Sports Radio, we want you to come up here and host a nationally syndicated show, I'm gone. Right. Like I would
Of
love living in
course.
the city. She's like, are you sure you'd want to live here? You sure you'd want to go to New York City? And I was like, yeah, because there's all that. I mean, there's like 12.5 million people living in like a 12.5 square mile radius, right? It's crowded.
That's one way to put it.
But it's laid out. Everything goes up, right? Like everything goes up. That's why you got these huge
Yeah.
skyscrapers. You can have 700 people living in a building that's 40 feet by 40 feet and never see each other because it just goes up.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
So I was like, this is nice.
I've been to New
Jersey-
York.
New York's great. New Jersey's like, what if we had the same
Not a
amount
place
of
for me.
people? What if we had the same amount of people, but everybody lived inside of each other's pants, right? Everybody just lived like biblically close to each other.
Yeah, well,
right?
that's the way I feel when I go to New York.
Oh.
I'm too close to people.
No, try Newark, and you'll look at New York and be like, wow, this is incredible. Like, this is amazing how
Well,
they do this.
Where'd you went to Manhattan?
We stayed in Manhattan. Now we went 2 years ago and we did everything. We went down to the financial district. We went to Chelsea. We went to North Manhattan. Like we went everywhere on the island.
Okay, so I've never been to Manhattan, but when I did go to New York, I went to Times Square.
Times Square is great. Again, super crowded, but for the most part, there's plenty of room to move around each other, which is all I'm looking for. New Jersey is just sad, right? It's just a sad place. Like,
I've only been to Jersey once, but I did get the best pizza I've ever had from Jersey.
listen, the food would have to be 50 Michelin stars at every restaurant to make it worth living. I was just sad.
I agree.
The aura of New Jersey was just sad. Like driving in, and we didn't even get out of the Uber in New Jersey, right? We left Newark Airport. We took an Uber to Manhattan, and we drove through Newark. We drove next to Secaucus, and we drove next to whatever the little town on the coast is right across from the island. And my thought was, how sad would I be on the daily to live in Jersey?
What did you want to talk about?
Maybe the saddest place I've ever been. Look
what did you
right
wanna- what did you wanna
across
talk
the
about?
river and see New York City, one of the greatest cities on planet Earth. It would make me sad, man. Make me sad.
What's your name?
Anyway, I fully intended to talk sports here, but I had to share that with you guys. I don't know why. I apologize to the New Jerseyans out there because I know there's a lot of people from Jersey who are very proud of being from Jersey, and I get that. But, man, it was just an aura of sadness that I could not escape. I never even got out of the Uber, and it was like by the time we came out the other side of the Lincoln Tunnel in New York, I felt like I had just been reborn as a person. Took like 10 minutes to shake the funk of Jersey off of me. All right, let's run to a break. When we come back here in a minute, World Baseball Classic. Want to get into that in just a minute. You know what I have not gotten a chance to talk to you guys about yet? Clemson gets bounced from the NIT in their opening game at home against the lowest seeded team in the tournament. Brad Brownell built up a lot of goodwill, gets number 1 seed in the NIT. The bracket sets up for a run, and they get bounced off their home court in game number 1. Got to talk about that. USC, the Lady Gamecocks, into the Sweet 16. Their next game will be right here in the Ville. We got to talk about them as Stanford, the other favorite to make it to the women's Final Four, get bounced by the Bulldogs of Mississippi State. Does that put a little scare into the Lady Gamecocks? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Plus, Joey B has a great question I'll answer when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Bless you.
Thank you. He said his name was Coach Grubin.
Okay.
He said he knew, like, just tell him it's Coach Grubin. He'll get me on. I'm like, okay. He was kind of hard to understand.
That's fine.
Man, Upstate, this is the Rob Brown Show.
Let's make a deal with Wayne Brady.
Okay. Because I just happen to like look up every so often, and I see this strange person on TV just jumping around. It's funny. Ooh, I want the refrigerator.
All right. Be right back, guys. Going to hit the restroom before we come back. We back. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Joey B, it turns out that it does not And to be 100% honest with you, I'm not entirely sure the one in Boston does either. Now, what I can tell you is the only thing I got told about the Monster was that it is the exact dimensions of the Monster at Fenway, with the exception that it is 7 feet shorter. If you go to floor and you look at the Monster, if you look at the left field foul pole, it extends 7 feet over the Monster. That foul pole is the exact height of the Monster at Fenway. So it's only 7 feet shorter. But other than that, it's the exact same dimensions. It's the same build as the one at Fenway. And when I went in the back, it's just a big empty room. All right. It's a big empty room with the windows where you hang the scores. And this was really cool. The tiles that have the numbers on them have a little hook at the top, right? And over the top of the windows, there's a metal bar that runs the length of that room. And so when you see the scores change, what happens is they take that little tile, they put it up on the window, they hook it onto that bar, and it hangs down lined up exactly in the window. There was no bathroom in there, and I'm not sure the one at Fenway is. I think Man Ram may have just peed in a corner. Wrapping up the second hour of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Joey B asked me an interesting question on the stream. He said, does our Green Monster have a bathroom for Manny Ramirez like the one in Boston? Here's what I'll tell you when I went behind the Green Monster. It definitely does not. All right. Now, the Green Monster at Fluor Field is almost the exact same dimensions as the Green Monster at Fenway Park. The only difference is our Monster is 7 feet shorter. I asked multiple people why ours was the same length and the same depth, but not the same height. And nobody at Fluor that I have found so far was able to answer that question for me. Nobody knew why the field, the Monster at Fluor is 7 feet shorter than the one at Fenway. But what I will tell you to answer that question, because it's a question I've gotten a couple of times, is no, there was no bathroom back there. And not only was there no bathroom back there, but I'm not entirely sure that there was one at Fenway either. I think Man Ram may have just went back there and peed in a corner. All right. But look, when you got to go, you got to go. Let me go to the phone lines. Let me get Coach in here real quick. He's been kind enough to hang through the break. Coach, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Are we live on the show right now, man? Am I live blocking the Rob Brown?
You sure are, Coach. So be nice. Don't make T2 hit the bad word button.
You know what I like about you, Rob Brown, is you don't even have to say the B in your first name. You can just say Rob Brown like it's just one long word. And I like that, man.
For the record, I am by my friends known as Rob Brown. Nobody just calls me Rob. It's Rob Brown. My nephews, amongst my various friends and family members, all know me as Uncle Rob Brown. Like, it's just all one word at this point. I never intended that to happen. It just did, Coach.
Now, let me tell you something, Rob Brown. I did not know that information before I called. I want you to know this ain't no inside job, man. This is an observation I had, you know?
I love it. I love it.
Let me hit on a couple of things. You talk about Adam Thielen going to the Panthers, man. That's going to be a great pickup. Guy that can run hitches, he can run corners, the post, he can do it all, man. That's a great job for the Panthers.
It's a great pickup. I love this guy. And I love this guy because he's a route running wide receiver, right? And I'm not just talking about you draw it down on the sheet and he does it exactly the way the diagram says. Adam Thielen is an absolute master at seeing where the hole in the defense is going to be and adjusting the planned route to end up in that spot. Adam Thielen is a quarterback's dream for that reason. And whether it's CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, that's exactly the type of wide receiver that you want for a young quarterback, a guy that you know can find that spot, can get into that spot, and can make it happen, Coach.
Let me tell you something, Rob Brown. Another guy that would have loved Adam Thielen was a guy I coached named Warren Sapp. Sapp shows up to practice one day, and I said, Sapp, they should change your last name to Sip because you could be chugging 2 liters of soda the whole time living out here, man. He's putting on a few pounds, let me tell you. One other point. You mentioned, was there a worse place in New Jersey? Yeah, it's called Oakland, California, man. Let me tell you, because their Hooters have bars. They had a bar inside the Hooters, and they had bars on the windows. It was a tough situation. You don't want to go, believe me.
I believe it, Coach.
Let me tell you something.
I'm also aware that over in Oakland, they read all your emails. Is that correct?
Well, I was going to say a few words of advice, Rob Brown. Real quick, first off, the top 11, that's a great idea, man. I'm telling you, you're onto something. The other thing is people say if you have issues, email your representatives, your senators, and Congress. But believe you me, if you email anybody in the city of Washington, it ain't going to turn out so well. You boys have a great day, man.
Thank you, Coach Gruden. John Gruden joining the show. How about that? My man making his presence known out the gate, wants his spot in the starting 11 now. Thanks for the email, Coach Gruden, the phone call. Don't email me, Coach Gruden. That won't go well for you, but I appreciate the call. John Gruden checking in on the show. Not going to get that anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Appreciate John Gruden checking into the radio broadcast. How about the world? By the way, John Gruden clearly working on the back of a truck that is backing up everywhere it's going. That truck Coach Gruden was on is just driving around the upstate in reverse. Man. All right. Let's talk Team USA baseball for just a second. A 14-2 beating of Cuba yesterday. It did not start off great. It really didn't start off great. Adam Wainwright found himself in trouble early in this game. Bases loaded, no outs, but they were able to hold Cuba to a single run. Moncada scored off of a walked-in RBI, and that made it 1-0 Cuba, but it was pretty much all Team USA after that. Paul Goldschmidt homered in the bottom of the first, a 407-foot blast. He was able to drive in Mookie Betts. It was 2-1 USA. Bottom of the second, Trey Turner, who has become an American hero with the last two performances that he has put out there. A day and a half after going granny in order to advance Team USA into the semifinals, Trey does it again. In the bottom of the second, another moonshot to left, 428 feet of it, made it 3-1. Then Pete Alonso singled to left. Nolan Arenado was able to score. Then in the bottom of the third, a couple of plays later, Tim Anderson sac fly to center. Kyle Schwarber scored. It's 5-1 Team USA. Then in the bottom of the fourth, an inning later, Arenado tripled to right. He drives in Paul Goldschmidt again, 6-1. Then Schwarber walked. Arenado scores on a wild pitch. It's 7-1. Ibanez able to single to center. Moncada scored for Cuba, and that was the last time they would find home plate. The Americans were not done. Goldschmidt singles to right. Alonso scored. McNeil scored. It's 9-2. Bottom of the sixth, Trey Turner goes yard again. Homer to left center, 396 feet this time. Smith and McNeil both score. Turner drives in run number 12. Bottom of the sixth, Mike Trout, who had been quiet in this game, rips a laser, a double out to right. Mookie scores 13-2. And then to end it all up in the bottom of the eighth, Mullins homers to right, 402 feet of fly to a 14-2 lead for Team USA. I sent out a tweet. At the end of the top of the first, the Americans down 1-0. I said the mentality of this team needed to change, right? We knew coming into this that because of the way that the pitching staff was assembled, and it's a good one if they were playing regular baseball, but because of the fact that there were pitching restrictions, because of the fact that teams were limited in the amount of pitches, the amount of numbers these guys could do off the bump, you could not construct a pitching rotation the way that you would have wanted to if this was regular season baseball. It was going to take some work. And when Adam Wainwright got in trouble early, I sent out a tweet that was inspired by the old man when I played ball for him. The old man used to tell the lineup, listen, home runs get you glory, right? At the end of the year, when we talk about guys' performances at the plate, the only base value that gets its own statistical category is what? Dingers, right? Going yard. Guy could bat 310, and we would go 310 with X home runs over the course of the season. And that's fine because this lineup's got power. From 1 to 9. Trey Turner's batting 9th in this lineup. That's how good this lineup is. Trey Turner's a 2 or 3 hole guy batting 9th in this lineup in that game yesterday because of how much power, how good this lineup is, yeah? But you can't go into this thing looking to win this contest, looking to win the World Baseball Classic as a whole, just on home run after home run after home run. You got to go into this contest looking to play small ball. You got to go into this contest looking to create base runners, looking to rack up RBIs. And that's what the Americans did. My old man used to say, do not swing for the fences. When you get into your routine, when you get into your rhythm, the home runs will come. Now, he lied because I sucked. But for the rest of the guys on the team that did not, he was right. You play the small ball. You play to make contact. And if you're a home run swinger, those dingers are going to come. They're going to show up. They're going to get there for you. And that's exactly what happened, right? The Americans realized early in this tournament that it wasn't just going to be, we're going to go out there and mash 7 dingers a game and win that way. We got to put base runners on. You got 2 home runs early out of Goldschmidt and Turner. But what did Goldschmidt's result? An RBI with Mookie scoring after Mookie led off with a double, hot out of the gate. Second game in a row that he led off with a double. Then you had Alonso driving in RBIs. You had Anderson getting guys to score on sac flies. You had Arenado hitting triples and turning in RBIs. You had Schwarber getting on base with wild pitches that were able to let guys score free from third. You had Goldschmidt getting RBIs. You had Turner hitting 3-run shots in the bottom of the 6th. You had Mike Trout. Mike Trout doesn't need to go yard every time he swings the bat. What did he do? Just settled down, made contact. It resulted in a double, and Mookie was able to score. When this team stopped trying to fly the fences every time they came to the dish and just worked on being the best offensive lineup ever assembled. Don't go out there and try to set a game record for most dingers. Just get guys on the bags and let it take care of themselves. And it did. And the Americans are now set up in the World Baseball Classic final. Young baseball players, listen to Uncle Rob. He knows what he's talking about, all right? I know you want to mash. I know you want to go yard. I know you want to be the guy who gets to do the really cool stomp on the plate when you come around after a trot. We all do. That's why we all play Xbox. I'm swinging yard every time I'm at the plate when I'm on the show 23. All right, I get it. Don't swing for the fences. Just get the ball in play. Runs are scored from second. They're literally called runners in scoring position on second and third. Get guys into RISP and then drive them home by putting the ball into play. The Americans did it, and they smoked Cuba yesterday. And if they do it again, they'll be bringing home some hardware. Let's take a break. 1 hour left. We got college basketball coming up next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. John Gruden calling the show. Love to see that.
Oh. I always forget that over here.
I do too.
I was like, why can't I hear anything? Now that the
Not
mics
alone.
are on. Oh, so who is John Gruden?
He was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won their Super Bowl back in the early 2000s, 2003.
Uh-huh.
He retired, did TV for a while. Then he went back and he coached the Oakland Raiders. Was there for a couple of years, was building a pretty good team. But then when the NFL was going through some controversy, a bunch of his old emails got leaked, emails in which he said some very racist and homophobic things, and he got his ass fired.
Oh.
There was a lot of controversy behind that. But he's a character. That might be the play. John Gruden only emails the show. That might be the play.
Oh.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle sack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
I'm not working all day today. I hope not. I probably am.
Brought to you by Special Olympics, Odyssey, and JR Sport Reproductions. Every Wednesday, we'll be speaking with a different Special Olympics athlete to share their stories of perseverance, accomplishment, and path towards inclusion. We don't want you to just listen. We want you to become an active agent of inclusion as well. Special Olympics, Agents of Inclusion, find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. With warmer spring temperatures, hang your clothes to dry outside instead of using the dryer. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's yours?
Does anybody on the stream watch Doctor Who?
Candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job.
There were like 2011 Doctor Who references when I was in New York City. And like I've had friends my whole life tell me that I would love Doctor Who. But it's like decades old, right? And it feels like one of those things that would be very tough to get into because there's so much of it. I have seen a couple of clips of Doctor Who episodes that I'm like, yeah, that looks really, like, that looks entertaining. Like, I feel like I'd get into that. It's like sci-fi with time travel. I'm in. But there's like decades of it. And the biggest problem when you have a situation like that, where there's like decades of content that you want to watch, is where the hell do you start, right? Like, where do I even find this stuff to watch? Is it all like, is it on YouTube? Is it all gathered in one place where I could start with the first Doctor Who and work my way through the Doctors? Like, I don't know.
I feel the same way about certain
Or is it
shows.
something that I can just jump in with the modern stuff and learn it as I go? The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Good to be back with you. I am Rob Brown. Lonzo out on vacation this week. We get a week of T2, the Timinator, Tim Snow, filling in for us. Good to have you, big dog.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm great.
Back in the groove, right?
Yeah.
Show's easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
easy.
This show. Yeah. It's easy, but I love doing it because it's easy.
Yeah, of course. Out on Thursday and Friday. Back today. Want to thank everybody who pitched in to let that happen. Carlos with a K up there in New York City. Tried to get the opportunity to meet up with Carlos with a K. Just did not work out because he is relatively new in radio. And as T2 can tell you, as Rob Brown can tell you, when you're the newbie in radio, your hours aren't your hours.
No, they are not.
They are not at all. So,
although that was a pretty southern New York City you did right there.
New York City. We talked about it last week. There was an old commercial for Pace Picante dipping the salsa, where these cowboys were sitting around a fire and they were eating chips and salsa. And this guy's like, yeah, mine's made in New York City. New York City. And I don't know why that commercial has hung on for as long as it has, but to this day, if I hear New York City, I still say New York City. New York City. All right, anyway, didn't get a chance to hang out with Carlos with a K, but he did an excellent job filling in from what I've been told, and we appreciate his time and effort and energy as always. Of course, I knew I left the show in wonderful hands with the great one, Lonzo, because he's in charge every day, but the show also in wonderful hands this week with my man, the Timinator, filling in as well. Had a couple of things I wanted to get into, but I think we got to start with college basketball. And I'm going to get to the bracket coming up here in just a minute from now. But I got to start, as much as I don't want to, with Clemson basketball. Because Clemson was probably the bubble team that had most people in dismay about their L. They get into the NIT. They go in as the number 1 seed. They end up hosting the opening round game, and they get an opportunity to take on Morehead State University out of the 1 seed. And they lost. And my question mark here is, how do I phrase this? What the hell, man? The hell? Now, Morehead State is a team I've got a lot of respect for because it's an old school blue collar team. But I don't want to sit here and pretend like Morehead State is North Carolina. I don't want to sit here and pretend that Morehead State was Virginia. Morehead State finished their season 22-12. They finished as the regular season champs in the Ohio Valley Conference. They knock off Clemson 68-64 in South Carolina. On top of that, it was the first NIT win in school history. Mark Freeman, 19 points. Alex Gross, 16 and 9 boards, knocking off the 1 seed. They were down 15 at the half. Morehead State trailed by 10 after halftime, coming out of halftime, went on an 8-0 run to narrow the deficit down to 34-32. With 4:37 left to play, Drew Thelwell knocked down a three-pointer, gave the Eagles a 55-54 lead, and they never turned back. Now, we had a lot of conversation about Brad Brunell. Honestly, since I moved here, right? I remember moving here leading into the COVID season. Well, I guess really ending the last regular season, I moved here. And there was already conversation about Brad Brownell and whether he was the right guy for the gig, whether he was the right guy for the job. Could he do it? Could he get him there? That year, they were set to go into a quarterfinal matchup with Florida State. That was the point that the COVID restrictions kicked into play. That game got canceled outright, and they ended up in a spot where FSU got handed the ACC regular season title and what would have been a bid into the tournament had it happened. Clemson had their opportunity for the first time to win back-to-back Atlantic Coast Conference tournament games. Never done it under Brad Brownell. For the record, they still have not done it under Brad Brownell because they opened the ACC tournament this year with a demolition job against NC State. They played a game that very well could have, should have, would have beat the Virginia Cavaliers. And as I've said a number of times, I think the best team in the ACC, which, by the way, congratulations, Furman Paladins. I know you got bounced in round 2. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But damn, what a win for the Dins. We'll come back to that. Anyway, I thought to myself, this is a Clemson team that now gets to play a couple at the house before they got to go up to Madison Square Garden. And while the NIT is very frequently considered a tournament that you do not want to be a part of, right? Mainly because of the whole not invited tournament label that it receives. The chance to go to the NIT, the chance to make some noise in the NIT, the chance to do a little something in the NIT can put eyes on your program for the next year. And with the caliber of talent that this team not only has, but is onboarding, I thought, yeah, man, go to the NIT, make a run, make a little noise, get folks looking at you, come into the ACC regular season next year with eyes and expectations raised. And instead, you got bounced by the Morehead State Eagles in game number 1. I have heard a lot of the expectations. I've heard a lot about the goals, right? Make more tournaments than you don't. Win an ACC title here and there. Get stuff done. And it's just not happening, right? It's just not happening. Neff came out. The AD came out like what? 36 hours before the NIT started. And said, we're confident. We think he's pointed in the right direction. He set us up with the opportunity to achieve our goals. And then you get bounced in the first round. Now, college basketball tournaments are wild, right? We also saw Purdue, a team that at least 2 of y'all picked to be the eventual national champions in the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge, get bounced by, what was it? Fairfield In-State University in the first round of the Bracket Challenge. It happens. The problem is it happens consistently for Clemson. Now, I could argue it happens consistently for Purdue. Remember, they were also the team that got bounced by what? The North Texas Mean Green in a 15-2 matchup a couple of years ago. But for Clemson, it's just happened consistently. And I just genuinely don't understand it, right? I don't understand how that works. I described this team earlier in the season as consistently inconsistent. And I don't think I could have come up with something better. Now, I go to the NC State game, right? I go to the NC State game. I go to a game where Clemson mentally had the upper hand. They knew it. They had already beaten the hell out of the Wolfpack twice. A team where NC State came in knowing that that team just had their number. So maybe they were a bit down. At this point, I'm looking for reasons, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I'm looking for reasons to believe that NC State just didn't put up a fight against Clemson, right? Now, NC State was not at that point a lock for a bracket. We all thought that they were probably in, but had some work to do. We knew Clemson. I knew Clemson needed to. About 80% of y'all didn't believe me. Y'all thought a win over the Wolfpack was enough. Well, NC State got in and we didn't. Right, but the losses NC State had were not as bad as the losses Clemson had. And while Clemson was the better basketball program between the two, no doubt about it, it is not a power ranking of the top 68 teams. It is the overall resume of them. And NC State's resume, while similar, had losses that just weren't as bad as the Tigers were. It's just that simple. I told you that. Going in, none of y'all should have been surprised on Selection Sunday. I told you going in that was going to be the case. And it was. And I am looking for reasons that NC State laid down to Clemson. Not because I don't think Clemson was a better team, but because I'm trying to figure out how it was that the Clemson team that played about as perfect as a basketball game as you could have asked for against NC State turned around and just boated the bed in the very next game. But then you got a chance. You go to the NIT. No, it's not the tournament you want to be in, but it is the second most prestigious tournament in all of college basketball. It is a tournament that is more about finding the next generation of players, right? It's a tournament that gives you the opportunity to go out there, test new lineups, find out what young guys are going to rise to the occasion, win some hardware, hang a banner, and again, get the eyeballs on your program. Get CBS Sports to talk about your program. Get Wally Zerbiak to drop a reference on you during March Madness coverage, so that when the next year's season rolls around, you're already talked about. You're the NIT champs or semifinalists or whatever. You've got some noise about you. But that's not what happened. Instead, Clemson looked flat. They looked disinterested. They looked unorganized. They looked like they weren't ready to play. Joey B just floated a theory on the stream, which you can watch again at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, by searching The Fan Upstate or The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, and by searching The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Joey B just floated a theory. Brad Brownell knew he wasn't getting fired, so he gave up. Does anybody agree with that? Because I got to tell you, I've told you guys, I try not to believe things without evidence, but I feel like the performance of that team against Morehead State was pretty damn good evidence, right? I feel it was pretty good evidence. It certainly looked to me like this team just was not there. And if that's the case, if this team led by Brad Brownell does not have that killer mentality, if this team does not have the desire to win every game, whether it's the South Carolina game in week 1 or 2, whether it's the Boston College game in week 7, or whether it's Morehead State in the opening round game, if this team doesn't have the rocks and the guts to come out with that killer mentality and win the winnable games, right? I'm not talking about the L to Duke. I'm not talking about the L to Carolina in Raleigh. I'm talking about Morehead State University. If you don't have the aggression to come out and beat Morehead State on your floor in a tournament game, I don't think that is something that just changes, right? You can have the best X's and O's in the game. You can have the analytics down. You can have the tactics down. You can have all of it down. But if you don't show up and show out in that game, in that moment, with the opportunity to put a mark next to you and get it the hell done, you're not going to learn that, right? You're not going to learn that. You're not going to go through the offseason and suddenly you come out next year with a renewed vigor. That's just what you are. That's just your identity. And I am afraid for Clemson basketball fans that we just found out the identity of your team. You can get up for some big games. You can get up for games against teams that you feel you already have their number, like NC State. But if you can't get up for Morehead State in a tournament that would begin the conversation about you for next year, what the hell gives me a reason to believe that I should believe in you next year? Where should that come from? I got no reason to believe it. It's simple. Skrilla just said Clemson's best performances this season when they were not expected to win. When the spotlight is on, they fold up like lawn chairs. Again, I can just point to the Morehead State game and feel like that's correct. Just that game alone showed me that killer aggression, that ruthless aggression is not there. So why would I believe starting next year, Brad Brownell's team is just going to learn that? You can't learn that. You either got the Mamba mentality or you don't. And this team, when they had a chance to win some hardware, when they had a chance to put themselves on the national spotlight and get the conversation started about what they could be next year, when they had the chance to do it, they collapsed. That ain't good enough. Let's take a break. We got to talk Furman basketball and more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. T2 filling in for the great one this week. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, the phone number if you want to jump on the air with us, 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. Texter says, Brad Brown now had already gotten a $200,000 bonus for finishing third or higher in the league. Crazy. But do you understand? That's my point. This team was good. Now, granted, it was a down year for the ACC. Let's not pretend it wasn't, all right? Duke and Carolina were not the Duke and Carolina that we're accustomed to, both of them trying out new coaches. I mean, the league was led by Miami and Pitt. It was a down year for the conference. That's just the truth. You don't have to like it. You do have to accept it. Even in a down year, still, this team was good enough to finish third in the ACC. What do you think Morehead State finishes in the ACC this year? 8th, 9th? They won the Ohio Valley Conference. It's a mid-major. It's a respectable mid-major. But do you think that team would have finished better than 7th or 8th in the ACC? No, right? And you were in your house. This was your yard that you didn't run. The point that I'm making here is that you were good enough to be third in the ACC, but you weren't good enough to beat Morehead State in your house, in your yard, in a hardware tournament. It's not a great look. Not a great look. That's why I'm disappointed. That's why I'm asking. And again, I have done my best to stay away from Brad Brownell is, it's time. He's got to go. And I've tried my best to stay away from that. Sure. But I kind of feel like it's a viable question now. Texter said Clemson basketball is like eating a 5-star soup sandwich on invisible whole wheat bread. It's a soup sandwich on invisible bread. Nice. Texter says my point. ACC was down. Yes, it was. If there was a point in time where the door was open for Clemson to walk through it was this year. And not only did they fail to do so in the regular season, when with 8 games to play, had the division in hand and just collapsed down the stretch. And then in the tournament, the bracket was set up. You caught a tired Virginia team the day after they got to hell beat out of them by North Carolina. Couldn't get by them either, right? It wasn't a great look. It just wasn't. All right, let's get to Furman real quick. Yes, I know that it was disappointing to get bounced in the second round by San Diego State. First off, that's a good San Diego State team. The only problem that San Diego State team has that is going to create an issue for them is that they're going to get caught up against Bama at some point, right? A very good Alabama team. I genuinely think maybe the best Alabama team in the game. I think I am going to regret not picking them as my national champs. I talked myself. I've got them in the finals, but I talked myself into having them lose against Kansas, who got bounced by Arkansas. Ouch. We'll come back to that. I don't care, right? Furman went up against, yes, the best team in the ACC. I stand by. I know Duke went a bit deeper. Start to finish, the best team in the ACC was the Virginia Cavaliers. A very well-rounded team, a team that was maybe not excellent at any one thing, but was really damn good at everything. And Furman didn't beat them, right? I know that's a tough way to end it for the guys that are calling it a career for the Dins. I know it was tough. I saw y'all that traveled down to Orlando. There was a lot of purple in O-Town for that second round game. I know it was disappointing. But can we take just a second to talk about what a run that was? For a team that had not been dancing since before Rob Brown was yet a glimmer in his father's eye. To win a Southern Conference that put a dagger in their heart last year when the Mocs walked them off on a miracle 3 to win the game. For them to come out, go wire to wire in the SoCon, to dog walk the rest of the conference in that tournament, and then get to Orlando. To get to Orlando, by the way, and end up in a spot where something like 85% of brackets had Virginia, mine included. Big Furman guy over here. But a setup that like 85% of filled out brackets on CBS Sports went with the Cavaliers over the Dins. To win that game is something, man. To win that game is something. Bothwell, Slauson, Pegues, Heen, these guys put themselves on a map. And the Dins ought to be damn proud of it, right? Those are the types of wins that a school like Furman in a mid-major conference has to have. You can get yourself out of a mid-major. You can get yourself to a place to be like a Gonzaga, right? That's a tournament contender every year. That's a threat to make the Final Four every year. You can end up on that level, but you've got to have games like Furman versus Virginia to get there. Because now you're on a map that you weren't on before. Now you're like everybody that follows college basketball after round 1 knew exactly who the hell the Furman Paladins were. We all knew it. Everybody who follows college ball knew exactly who the Furman Paladins were after that win. That's the type of game that puts you on a map. That's a type of game. I used to call basketball games down in Florida for the Northwest Florida State College Raiders, right? That's a D3 club and a damn good one. That's a club that I have watched send players to the NBA, to the Pac-10, to the SEC. I have watched players come out of Northwest Florida State and go to major conferences and be good. Go to the NBA and be good. Chris Duarte, starting forward at the NBA, came out of Northwest Florida State College, went to Oregon, went to the league, is now a stalwart in the league. Furman's the type of school that's going to start to rely on those types of players, right? Guys that get too big for D3 Northwest Florida State College, but end up in a spot where a team like a Furman, a mid-major team, a tournament threat like the Furman Paladins, want those guys in. But in order to get those guys in, you've got to register for them. They've got to know who you are. They've got to know who you are. They've got to know where you come from. They've got to know you've had tournament success. They've got to know that when it is time to go dancing, that you're a team that can invite them. You're a team that can provide them with those dancing shoes. And Furman has just proven that they are. Not just by making it to the dance, because making it to the dance is great, right? You get to hang the banner SoCon Conference champions when you get a 1-bid mid-major. But when you go knock off an ACC champion, now it's not just, yeah, they can get there. Now it's, yeah, they can get there and they can win. Now they can get there and they can make it to the second round. Now they can make it to the Sweet 16. Because if you can beat Virginia this year, beating San Diego State, it certainly was not a guarantee. That team's got arguably the best defense in college basketball as played by the Aztecs this year. That is a lockdown defense at San Diego State. It's still a winnable game for the Dins. If you can beat Virginia, you can beat San Diego State, right? So now it's, how do you take the next step? And the answer is, you take the success that Richie's guys had this year. You go start looking at these D2 and D3 schools that have that one standout guy, that guy that clearly got missed in recruiting or was unable to go to a Power 5 team because he was academically ineligible and had to take a year at a JUCO to get himself ready for the next level, whatever it takes. You go find that guy, you bring that guy to Greenville, you turn him loose, and you bump up. You find the next Mike Bothwell. You find the next Slauson. You find the next Pegues. And now you stack 3 or 4 of those guys around a roster of cats who give a damn like the rest of that roster did. And they go, okay, this team was good enough to beat Virginia. This team was good enough to make it to the second round. Who's to say they can't make it to the third next year and the fourth the year after that? It can be done. Like I said, Gonzaga's made a point of that by turning themselves into a basketball school. Furman just kicked that door down. They just kicked that door wide open. It was a hell of a win. I know it stings because let's be honest. I think all of us kind of looked at the SoCon championship. I think all of us kind of looked at the fact that the Dins earned a bid. And I think all of us kind of looked at this and went, okay, we knocked off Virginia. You're damn right we can beat San Diego State. And so it went from let's go make a name for ourselves to let's go reach the Elite Eight, right? Let's take that next step. The good news is the door's open. Now you take a Furman University, you start bringing in those guys from the Northwest Florida states that go make some noise. I'm going to have to apologize, but I forget his name, but there was a kid who played for Northwest Florida State College a few years back when I was calling games there who went to play for the North Texas Mean Green. Kind of a similar situation to Furman, right?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, was that it? T2 dunks with the dreads flowing behind him. I'm apologizing because I forgot the dude's name. Anyway, I love this kid, Zoe, because his whole mantra was work. In fact, he had a pair of custom Nikes made. He used to wear at Northwest Florida State. I don't know if he took them with him to North Texas. But yeah, he had a custom pair of Jordans made for himself that were brown leather. They look like work boots, right? They were dope. They look like Doc Martens. They look like work boots. And he wore those shoes as a reminder that if you want to get somewhere, you gotta work. So when he went out there and played, he was wearing Jordans, but they look like work boots because he was going to work. So he gets out of Northwest Florida State College, where he led the team in scoring for like back-to-back years. He ended up going to the North Texas Mean Green. They won their conference tournament, I think, 2 years ago. They got a bid. They got in. They went in as a 15 seed, and they knocked off number 2, Purdue. And they were on the map. He was on the map because he had a hell of a game that game. Those are the types of cats that you're looking to find. You take what you did with Furman this year. You expand on that. You point it out. You illustrate it nationwide. You go find those guys. You bring them in. And then you go from, all right, we made the dance to, all right, we got out of the first round. Now next year, how do we get out of round 2? How do we get to the Sweet 16? And then you do that and you attract more kids. And then it's all right. Now, how do we get to the Elite Eight? And you attract more kids. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, now you got top 250 recruits that want to play for you because you're not just a consistent tournament team, but you're a Sweet 16 team. And then you go to the Elite Eight. You get kids that are top 150 guys. Now you're an Elite Eight team. Now as an Elite Eight team every year, you got guys that are stepping up, top 100 players. They go, all right, if they're Elite Eight, my hope they can be Final Four. I am so damn proud of what this Furman team did. When nobody was talking about them preseason as a real contender, they won the SoCon. They beat the best team out of the Atlantic Coast Conference and were this close to being a Sweet 16 team this year. Watch Bob Ritchie do it again next year. Watch him. Let's take a break. When we come back, 1 or 2 more thoughts, and then Twitter trending topics to call it a day. Rob, T2, you. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
The Price is Right
is still on.
It's priceless with no sound, dude. Watching some of these people like jump around in excitement. Oh my god, it's so funny. What?
Play-by-play coverage of March Madness only on the Fan Upstate. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, then listen anywhere on your phone. Chuck Sanders on the Fan Upstate.
From the Ingalls Market Studio,
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Smart Park.
from the Free Odyssey, CBS Sports Radio.
I'm Brad Heller with NFL Network now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Cowboys added a new playmaker for Dak Prescott by acquiring wideout Brandon Cooks from the Texans in exchange for a 2023 sixth-round pick and a 2024 sixth-round pick, according to NFL Network.
What would you rather have, a sauna or a refrigerator?
Sauna.
Really?
I got 100 refrigerators. That's easy.
You got 100 refrigerators?
No, I've had 100. I'll tell you what they did earlier that I would have
You
wanted.
stock it up for the end of the world, man.
I got let's see. In my house right now, I have a fridge, 2 wine coolers, and a mini fridge for the beer.
Me and Kia are getting a one of those big ice chests because we need it for the extra food because I have kids. But I don't think I've had 100 refrigerators. I have one mini fridge that stays in my room that is off limits to my kids. It has a lock on it.
So the goal, the lady friend and I have a goal. We have a 10-year plan, and the 10-year plan is wherever we end up to have. I want a basement. I've never had a basement.
I want a basement so bad, dude.
Right? I want a basement.
I want a basement for the acoustics, man.
Yep, I want a basement
See,
because like
great
so
minds,
I have the man cave right now, and in the man cave right now, I have every corner has a thing. One corner is my wine cooler, and it's my like New Orleans corner. It's got all my my Mardi Gras stuff up. One corner is my music corner. All my guitars are hung on a wall, and my amps are down at the bottom to plug in whenever I want. One corner is my sports corner. That's where all my like sports memorabilia is. And the other corner is it's my closet. So like all my hats are over there, stuff like that.
We should have a station-wide like man cave off. See who's got the best one.
The goal is kind of to turn this into, I feel like I'm in a good route. So earlier they had them wager on a kegerator that sits in your corner, but I've seen kegerators before. This one had 2 taps for pony kegs. So you stick 2 pony kegs in there, and then it has the taps that coming out and out, and you can have a full beer whenever you want.
In your man cave?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I want to come see your man
I
cave.
want that so bad.
Oh, you don't have it yet?
Yeah,
okay.
Joey B says highly. Joey B's got a kick-ass basement. Joey B's basement is what I aspire mine to be. It's dope. I want a basement so bad. Like so she and I have talked about like down the road when we look at buying a bigger house, because we just need a bigger house. When we look down the road of buying a house, like there's like 3 or 4 requirements. One of them is a 2-car garage, and one of them is a basement.
I have a 2-car garage. But I want a basement.
She wants a spot for her car. I want to keep my motorcycle inside. So 2-car garage, and a basement, because I want a dope. I want a 2-sided basement. One side is going to be like old school wood paneled leather furniture, like really nice cigar lounge area.
Yeah.
And the other side, 8 TVs. It's all sports.
See, man, I have my music corner too because I have my guitars up and everything. I also have like my home studio where I do like home recording. So I have a lot of acoustic paneling on the wall. But I'm trying to put things in between the paneling for decoration. And I have everything pretty much. I have like a gaming system, like a whole like streaming thing in there and everything. So we should do that though. We should do like a station-wide like man cave. Just show off your man cave. Where is the There it is. Topics.
You remember how to do Twitter trending topics?
I'm getting some right now.
And we'll play it at 11:50. No matter where I am, play it at 11:50. All right, let's clean up some of the texts that we've gotten today. Texter said, what a run by Furman. Looking forward to their baseball season. Go Terriers. Oh, you woke up and chose violence today, man. Woof. Ouch. Let's see. Texter says, Luke, a.k.a. Dan the super fan man, says, looking forward to becoming a part of the starting 11. Yeah, if you missed that, starting 2 weeks from today, I am bringing back something I used to do on the old show, the starting 11. We have a Rob Brown Show starting 11. And the way it works is this. Every day, you can participate in the show. You can call, you can text, you can tweet, you can email, you can do whatever, anything you want to do to be a part of the show. You can write stuff, you can call in and drop bars, whatever you want to do. Me, Lonzo, T2, and one mystery judge every day will be assigning points based on your contributions to the show. And it's not just on the show. If I roll around downtown and I see you at a sporting event in a Fan Upstate shirt or hat, you're going to get noticed. You're going to get points. If you come up to me at a restaurant, say, hey, tell me you listened to the show, talk to me about a segment we did, you're going to get points. All right? Whatever the case might be. At the end of every month, based on the number of points that you have acquired on the show, you will either crack or not crack the Rob Brown Show starting 11. If you crack the starting 11, at the end of the month, if you are still in the starting 11, you're going to get one of 11 prizes to be handed out that month. All right? There's just 11 of them. I will get one. Lonzo will get one. T2 will get one. And 11 listeners will get one. So there'll be effectively, 14 pieces of this merch made.
Right. In the world.
14 pieces of that merch made from the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. If you make the starting 11, and again, calls, emails, texts, tweets, whatever, however you get in touch with and participate in the show. If I see you out and about, if you come to a drive game and I see you in a hat, I'm going to walk over and introduce myself, say hi, and you'll get some bonus love for that. At the end of every month, those who are on the starting 11 leaderboard inside that top 11 are going to get a piece of that merch. You will be one of only 11 listeners who have it. We got hats. We give away hats all the time. We got shirts. We give those away all the time. This stuff will be special made for only the starting 11 of the Rob Brown Show. If you want in on that, starting April 3rd, which is 2 Mondays from today, you participate in the show however you want. At the end of every week, we will give you the power ranked starting 11. All right? We will tell you who the 11 are as of that day and in the order that they are in so that you can start working on cracking that top 11. When you get to that point, if you're in there at the end of the month, you get the merch. If you're not, try again next month. No hurt feelings here. All right? It's just how the business gets run. So, Texter says, looking forward to becoming part of the starting 11. That's from Luke. Luke, get your work together, man. Get your thoughts together. Figure out your gimmick. Figure out your shtick. Figure out what you're going to do and get in on that. Texter says, Rob, my family lives about 30 minutes from the Newark airport. I feel the same way. I can handle a week max up there. So if you missed that, this past week and weekend, took the lady friend up to New York City, where she went from the lady friend to the lady fiance. We upgraded, got engaged while we were out there. But I pointed out that in the 2 hours we were in New Jersey, in and out of the city, I think New Jersey might be the saddest place in America. All right? New Jersey feels like a place for people who almost realized their dreams of living in New York City, but came up just shy, right? It feels like you got so close to grabbing the American dream of living in the city, but then you came up just short, and now you're stuck in Jersey. It's not an insult to Jersey. That's just kind of how I felt about it. Texter says, Rob, I text the show every day to tell you you are dissing Clemson. Also, I am the one who originally coined the name Liber-Rob. Where's my points? That's from, he's calling me Gamecock Rob. Listen, I'm going to be straight up with you. Just because I don't love a call or text or tweet or email doesn't mean it doesn't make the show better. You, texter, have given me some lovely segments where I've gotten kind of ticked off on the air at you before, and they've made for what I've been told has been some pretty good radio. That's a good way to crack the starting 11 because I'm not the only judge here. Zoe's going to judge. We've got an anonymous mystery judge who is going to levy in on this. When T2's in the building, he'll be filling in on this. If we have a tiebreaker, like we can't figure out who number 11 is, we'll send the content to T2 and let him decide.
Yes.
All right? Participating in stuff on the show. Our bracket challenge winner is likely going to enter the first starting 11 power rankings, probably in the top 5, for not only participating in the show, but for winning the damn thing. He'll probably get some bonus points there, or she.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
Oh, yeah, let's get to it. My little brother says, making fun of you gets points. Move aside. The champ is here.
Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Yeah, I would gladly
give us some Rob Brown horror stories, man.
Gladly send you a logo with my face and name on it, buddy. Absolutely. All right, let's get some Twitter Trending Topics in here to call this a show.
All right. First up for our trending topics is going to be hashtag Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, obviously. So we've got the women's side with the Sweet 16 getting started. We've got games lined up throughout the day today. We'll have a breakdown of those tomorrow. Stanford gets bounced, by the way. That's a number 1 seed getting knocked out by Mississippi State. So arguably the biggest threat to the Gamecocks is now eliminated, but it is also proof perfect that if you go into this thing and you do not execute in every game, you can be bumped even if you are a force in college basketball, men's or women's. The Cardinal on their way home, Lady Gamecocks set to host the regional here in GVL, and we'll be covering that for the next few days.
All right. Next up is my personal favorite, hashtag Monday mornings.
Monday mornings. I got to tell you, I'm one of the reasons that I absolutely love this gig, T2, is that there's no cases of the Mondays for me, right?
Yeah.
Like my job is to show up at 6:30 in the morning, look at sports, then spend 3 hours talking about sports, and then spend another 3 hours putting out the things that I said about sports. And then I go home, and do you know what I get to say is quite literally my job at nighttime?
What's that?
Watching sports.
Hey.
Life's good. No case of the Mondays. It looks like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
I get it when I first wake up, and then after I get started, I'm good. So
you're killing the show. So
all right. Next up we have hashtag. Let me find a good one here. Izzo.
Tom Izzo is the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans basketball team. Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans were an almost untalked about factor, right? I mean, we were almost not talking about Tom Izzo and his Michigan State Spartans when this bracket started. Where are they now? Oh, no big deal, just in the Sweet 16. Tom Izzo's team, and I don't know if this is because Tom Izzo's team is just a well-coached team, a well-disciplined team. I don't know what the case is, why they are what they are. But Tom Izzo's Spartans have moved on to the round of 16 and done so with pretty much nobody talking about them. They take on EMAW, Kansas State. That game's going to be Thursday at 6:30. Kansas State, of course, knocked off my pick, Kentucky, meaning that while I have, I've got 3 of my Elite 8 still dancing. That's it. Oh, God, I suck. Houston is still alive. Alabama's still alive. And UCLA is still alive for me. But Kentucky and Duke both getting bounced. ends up with Kansas State, Michigan State, and FAU versus Tennessee on Thursday, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. By the way, as it stands right now in our bracket challenge, my guy Tim Frisbee called his shot. He is on top of the leaderboard, but he's got Duke as the national champs. They got bounced. Joe Toscano is in second right now. His champs are still dancing in Houston. So are Brandon and JT with Bama, Stephen Webb, Carter Vickers, and the lady fiance is all square. She is T5 right now, a solid 4 points behind our leader, and her national champion is still dancing. Lonzo is still alive. He is T5 with the lady friend. He's got UCLA there alive. And then you find Rob Brown all the way down in 25th.
I'm voting for her. I hope she wins.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it for the show. I'm going to walk off while I felt like an idiot. T2 filling in for the great one this week. Appreciate you coming in, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Nice to be here.
Everybody else, we'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
That's on CBS Sports Radio. Oh, it's just the promo.
All right, stream. Appreciate all you guys. You're all fabulous people. Thank you for watching and playing along with us. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, and I will absolutely tell you that your participation now does go a long way into deciding who cracks the starting 11 when we launch it in 2 weeks. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Tell your friends about us. We want this community to grow. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. Goodbye.